All right, welcome into this edition of Inside the 10 with Gridiron Grubb here. Get over, follow at Twitter at Gridiron Grubb, subscribe here on YouTube, get over to Spotify, listen to the podcast, Apple Podcast, give it 5 stars. Podcast comes out on Tuesday. This is Inside the 10 edition where we're going to go over a game in less than 10 minutes. And the game we're looking at this week, we've got week 15 going on, and what we're going to look at for this game is the Titans visiting the Steelers, and this should be an interesting game as far as how this game plays out. It's going to be really tight. It really is. I see the Steelers really coming into this game needing help, but for the Titans themselves, 17th overall in offense, 23rd in pass. Now, they're still 5th in rush. Even without Henry, they've still been putting together some really, some decent running games and getting things done in that manner. They'll be without Stafford, their guard, this week. He's out. But they need to attack the Steelers here early with the run game. They need to be able to set up that play-action pass. It's what Tannehill does best, but it's a play-action pass where he rolls out of the pocket. Usually when Tannehill has to turn and find the receivers, I'm not going to say he struggles, but he's not as good as that part of the play-action game as where he is when he play actions and they move the pocket or roll him out of the pocket, have him throw on the run, do all those types of things where he's good at really collecting himself and finding the field. He does it a lot better when he rolls outside of the pocket. They've got to do that. They've got to roll him, and even when they roll him, if they've got to contain, if they're going to Watt's side, they better be able to contain him and not let him get loose and get after Tannehill. And they need to score early. Put the pressure on the Steelers. The teams that have really made the Steelers struggle this season have gotten out to early leads, and this offense for the Titans is going to have to do it. Looking at the Titans' defense, they're 12th overall, but they're second in the rush right now in yards against. That's huge. They're beat up for this game. They're a little beat up. They've got Tart out. They've got Long out. They've got Jenkins out in the secondary. Buster Screen's going to have to step up. These other defensive linemen on the rotation and linebackers are going to have to step up as well that come in next man up mentality. But they've got to force the pressure off the edges here. They've got to suck that pocket in around Ben and then have those D tackles push up in his face. That's a good way to make him frustrated and stop him and force bad throws from him. If you force that pocket up into him, he makes really bad throws. So the Titans defense is going to have to do that. Rothisberger looks a little spent, so they're going to have to contain Najee Harris out of the backfield. And, on these short passes and these check downs, so they're going to have to come up and tackle. So they got to force the short pass, and the Titans defense has to come up and tackle. Looking at the Steelers side of the ball, they're 21st on offense, 13th in passing, but 28th in rushing. That is not a Steelers team that we know for a long time. Going back years and years, years. We're talking, the Steelers have always been able to run the football. They don't usually struggle as bad as they've struggled. This also has to go into, again, Rothisberger getting up there. He looks a little spent. I'm going to be honest. I said this earlier just a second ago that he looks spent. Like, he looks disinterested. Like, he throws the bat, he shakes as he's like, that was no good. But then he goes on the sideline and he stands there. He's not, like, coaching up anybody. He's not motivating anybody on the sideline. When they show him, he's still over there just on the sideline shaking his head. So I think he's a little disinterested. He's going to have to get going this game. He's got to hit some deep balls. They have to hit the big play this game in order for the Steelers to have success. They must do it. They need to be balanced. They need to run the football, and they need to hit these big shots down the field. They're not getting these big shots open because they're not running anything to set them up. They're really not. Their run game it's very bleak right now. It's not just Rothisberger, but it's the play calling in general, how the run is actually happening. They're not fooling anybody with their runs. The defensive side of the ball for the Steelers, they're 25th overall and 30 in yards against rushing. That is not a Steelers defense we know either. They were banged up for a few weeks, but it didn't even look good last week as they're getting healthier now. They're the most healthy they've been in weeks, and they need to force the ball and force the game into Tannehill's hands this game, shut down Julio Jones, focus on him, and they need to get to Tannehill off the edges. Don't let him break that pocket. If he breaks the pocket, that's where he does best, throwing on the run. So Don't let him get outside that pocket. They've got to contain him. They need to pressure Tannehill, force bad decisions from him. And with that, we're moving into top fantasy plays, PPR. I'm looking at Tannehill having a pretty decent game this game, with the Steelers' defense being the way that it's been. With his legs, I think he gets extra yards rushing, maybe one of those sneaky touchdowns that he gets on the bootleg. Foreman, I have doing really good job, I think, in this game. The Steelers, again, they've been really bad against the rush. Foreman, I could see getting higher than the points I have next to his name there. Julio Jones, same thing, 15 points. Around that mark, maybe even a little higher, gets an extra touchdown, obviously, could come into play. Westbrook and Keena, I think he puts it down a little bit this game. But my sleeper for the Titans, like I say, is Deontay Foreman. I know I've got him at 14 points there, but if the game breaks loose and they get ahead in this game and they're running more and more, the Steelers' defense, again, has been really bad against the run lately. I think Foreman could have a really, really special game here if that breaks down that way. Ben Roethlisberger, 22. He'll have his normal game where he throws some touchdowns. They come back late, whatever it is. Najee Harris has to be a big focus of this game, so I got him really high. I think Najee, if the Steelers do their game plan right, has a huge game. Deontay Johnson, I think he has a big game. You're looking at from 17 to 25 points in there. Again, this fantasy playoffs time. So, and Freiermuth, I think he's a sneaky tight end pick this week. The Titans can be beat with the tight ends over the middle and some of these red zones touchdowns. So, and my Chase Claypool, so I say they got to hit some big plays down the field this week. And I think Chase Claypool is the guy that they try to target in that. Sometimes, obviously, Deontay Johnson gets some looks and some of the other receivers get some looks. But Chase Claypool has to catch, and they have to connect on these deep routes down the sideline to him. And they just have to do it. They've got to break it down that way. Steelers have to make some big plays in this game. They haven't connected on a lot of big plays during the season. They've missed out on a lot of those deep patterns. So looking at the final score and the odds of the game right now, the spread is even. Obviously, we're here on Saturday before the game. Something could swing 1 point or 2 points another way. But right now, we're looking at this spread is even. The over-under is 43. So I've got the Steelers. I got them in a 1-point victory. I'm not that confident in that. I just give them the home field advantage, so I'm giving them a 24-23 win. But again, it's an even game. Where we're breaking down bets on this, it's a tough game to bet. It might be a game where you do some, prop bets over betting the game. However, depending on your money line and the money that you can get from it, I guess you can look into some things. But at an even odds, obviously nobody's beating the spread, so you're either taking a team, win or lose. And again, I'm just not that confident in the Steelers right now watching Ben Roethlisberger. However, because of the home field advantage, because this time of the season, sometimes I see the Titans go on the road and they don't play very well on the road. So I'm giving it 24-23 Steelers, 1-point victory, something crazy field goal at the end, some type of deal like that, I think is how this game ends and plays out. Tennessee minus 110 on the point spread or on the money line. So Pittsburgh, even though the game's even, has a plus 105. So I'm taking that because that's probably one of the better bets that I'm going to get in this game. So I'm going to take the money line, Pittsburgh 105, even on the spread. So taking the over on the plus minus on the over-under side. I'm taking the over. So with that being said, Steelers 24, Titans 23, taking the over. Spread is even. Taking Pittsburgh on the money line, plus 105. And with that being said, that's where we're at. I appreciate you guys being here for this edition of Inside the 10. Get over to Twitter. Follow at Gridiron Grubb. Subscribe here on YouTube. Get over to Spotify. Listen to the podcast on Tuesdays. Apple Podcast, Spotify. Give it 5 stars on Apple Podcast. And with that being said, I appreciate you guys and have a good one.